The new data visualizer feature in Visio Pro for Office 365 enables you to create two types of diagrams from Excel templates. As you can see here, I've got a link here which will bring down from the web or wherever a new Excel data template which looks like this for a cross-functional flowchart. And in there it gives you a description of how you should be entering the data and an idea of what your diagram is going to look like. So we've got our swim lanes and we've got our stages or phases, and the data is going to be created from a table like this. Now, I don't like some parts of this because it means, for example, here for the next step ID column, I have got to be able to type in with a comma separated or a colon separated or whatever, a list of the next step IDs and then the connector labels in another column there. This makes it very difficult for data entry and just checking that you've actually got things in correctly. So I much prefer to have my data in a relational source so that it's all verified. So let's open up Access, because I've taken that information or those column headings, if you like, and I've created in Access a related structure. And we can see within there that I've got some extra bits in there. I've given myself one for diagram types, two different types of diagrams that we're going to be creating in there. I've got one for the functions, which are the swim lane headers that we've got in there. I've got one for the owners, if I wanted to put any owners in there, or the phases that it goes through, because I'm creating one here for the this particular wizard. All right, so I've got a process here, processes, and I've got a demo process, and it's got a sub data sheet in Access's terms, which is going to be for all of those different steps as we step through using this wizard to create all of the data. Okay, and I've got related table here, which is my step links, so which is my begin step ID and end step ID. So for each of those I can put the text in for the label, if there is any, just by typing into this column. Okay, and how do I enter it? Well, a lot easier than I think in Excel, because here I just go and select which is the next one. I could have shown more information than that, but I didn't bother. Right, and here, for example, we have a decision. Do we need swim lanes? Yes, we can go off to 5 or 6. And in fact, I could make myself a nice little data entry form if I wanted to, which gives me a lot more, but I think this makes it a lot easier because we've got validated data as we're going through, because you can only enter in the right information. Okay, so after I've done that, I have created myself a nice little query, which all it is filtering on this particular steps that I need for creating this this particular flowchart, which is for this wizard. So I've got 39 rows in here, and if I have a quick look at the view, I'm now joining together the functions and the phases, and I have just filtered on the data visualizer process. So I've got these coming out hopefully here in order if I wanted to, so it's by the originating step ID. And I run that, and here we go, we have everything in order, and we've got everything we need. Great. So now that I've got that, I'm going to use Power Query, or transform data, within here to create myself a table that I can then utilize within the data as the input for the diagram. So let's go to data, and let's hold this in there, and I could, as you can see here, go from various data sources now, which could be various places, and I've actually gone to the one which is Microsoft Access, just because it's easy to demonstrate what we're doing. I've got this as a recent source, so I'll go and select on that, so I don't have to bother going and select it anywhere else. And I'll open this up, and in there you can see the tables, and I've got the view, which I've already pre-filtered to be this particular ones. And I've also used aliased some of the columns, and I've joined together some of the information in there so that it comes through how I want it to be. So here's my view in there, and I'm going to load that into here, so it'll create me a table using that view within this particular workbook. Okay, so I've now got these loaded, and let's call this sheet 1. Let's call this is the process steps. I like to name my worksheets. So I've now got the process steps. Okay, so that leaves the difficult bit, which is the next steps that we're going to. Okay, so I'm now going to get that data. So let's go back to our data, and we'll do my recent source again, and now connect. And in there we have this step links table, which has got all of the steps in there. I haven't bothered pre-filtering this for now, but that's okay. Right, so let's go in and edit that. Now we just want to merge with our original data. So let's choose our original table queue process link, and we're joining on the begin step ID to equal to the process step ID. We want to make sure we get only the rows that we need for out of the steps table, step links table. So if only those ones there, do OK. Alright, so now we've got that. I don't need to have some of these columns. I'll get rid of all of these ones over here, and it leaves me with begin step ID, which I'm going to ensure is in order. Actually, it should be, but I'm just doing a sort by there. Okay, so at this point we can see that for each of the next steps, and here for example on 04 goes to 5 and 6, there is a no and a yes. So I've got all of those steps in there. So there's 45 rows there, even though we're only 39 actual steps because of the branching that goes out. So what do we do about this? So first of all, I'm going to remove the labels. We'll come back to the labels in a moment. And this particular one, step ID here, I'm just going to duplicate that column. I've now got the same data in both. Why? So what I'm going to do is select the end step ID here, and I'm going to pivot it. So let's go to transform and pivot that. Okay, well it's tried to guess that I want to put the begin step ID in there. I don't. I want the one that I've just created, the copy, and I need to go to the advanced and choose don't aggregate. And when I do that, what we get is a table like this. So all of our column headers here are the data that was in one of the columns, and we can see it's in there. Now all I need to do is go and select all of these columns all the way to the end and just do a merge. Alright, and I'm going to give it a separator. I'm going to give it a comma, and we'll call this next step IDs. I'll put an S on it just for clarity. So that's the next step IDs there. So in there we can see we've now got this data which has now got comma, 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 which is empty sometimes, and then if there's a next step. So these are all in order, which is quite important. So those are my step links. I'm now going to close that and save that. I want to save that. And it's now inserting that into my workbook. There you go. And I'll call this next steps. Okay, that's the first part. Second part is I'm going to duplicate that. So I'll get hold of the query, which is my step links, one here, and now do a duplicate. And why am I going to do duplicate? Because I'm going to go in now and modify this a lot slightly. So what we did, if you remember, is we went, and I can delete this, go backwards to the duplicated column, look, and there's that removed column. This time I'm not going to remove that column. This time when I do my pivot on here, which is under transform, forgot. Okay, and I want to put the label into that third column, and that's going to be don't aggregate. Again, I get the same column headings, and I get the same order of everything. So I just go to the end again, select all of those, and do merge. Okay, comma, separator again, and we'll call this next step labels. Oops, I'll put a B in there because it's right. So here we've got next step labels, and do OK. Right, looks exciting, doesn't it? So we can see here we've got the next step ID, or begin step ID, we've got the next step labels. I just saved that. And I'll call this next step labels. Okay. I'm now going to do a new query on here. So I'm going to do it from this table here. Okay, and we'll call this process map from access. Okay, so here we can see all of this, but I need to bring in those other ones I've created. I've got this one, I'm going to bring this column in, and that joins this and this one together. So in this case, it is going to be a left outer, all from the matching, all from the first and matching from the second, and do OK. So what we get over here is a table, and I only need the next step IDs. And I won't bother with using the original column name as a prefix. All right, so we've now got the next step IDs. And I'm going to merge in again. Choose step links 2. Again, match on that, match on that. Do OK. I'm going to expand that out. I just don't need the step ID. Got next step labels. Okay, and there's my name of my query. Blah de blah de blah. We've now got everything in the state that we need it to be. So now I'm going to close and load. Right, and here we have the table. If I go across here, it's got all of this formatted like that. So I've got my original 39 rows, because the first one was a header. Okay, and I've got it now denormalized from the normalized data. And I'll call this process map from access. Okay, and let's save that. So when I've selected the workbook, it then examines it for the tables that are in there. And in there, I've got this one I called process map for access. So select that. And just like before, I've got the ability of selecting function phases, etc. Next. Okay, what's the shape type? It is the, oh, look, I've left it as shape type like that. I should have changed that name. I haven't bothered with much of a alt description in this case, but I'll put that one in there. Okay, and it's read those shape types, and the skate is that. Here we go. It's now going to connect using which column? Okay, and it's recognized the next step IDs that I put in there. It's comma separated, and I'm going to use the next step labels. Do finish. And wait for the magic. And there you go. We now have got our cross-functional flowchart created from relational data. Of course, if I go in and update the data in my Access database, I just need to go and refresh that workbook, which has got the Power Query in it, and I've got a refreshable diagram, which of course I can then do from here, and then go to the Data tab and select Refresh. QED.